South Dakota and Wisconsin. Trails and then all the rest of trails.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's November 13th, 2024, and this is the meeting of the Carbondale, Colorado Parks and Recreation Commission. We are an advisory commission made up of volunteers to assist and consult with town staff and make recommendations to our town officials. My name is Hollis Sutherland, and I am honored to serve as chair this year. I'm joined by fellow volunteers, our Vice Chair Rose Rosello, Rachel Bachman Perkins, Ashley Haight-Manick, Leslie Keary, Eric Lamb, Susan Ray, Drew Sorensen, and Liza Logan. And we are joined by our fabulous staff, Eric Brenlinger, our Parks and Recreation Director, Margaret Donnelly, Community Center and Recreation Programs Manager, and Kay McDonald, who is serving as Board and Commission Clerk, among many other hats. Erica Sparhawk is our Board of Trustee Liaison, and I welcome anyone who may be watching live or via recording. Thanks for participating in your local government. As a commission, we strive to serve the town of Carbondale by setting aside our personal biases and looking at what's best for our community. We honor diverse opinions, promote inclusivity, and endeavor to keep our discourse civil and respectful. So we will get started by approving the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review any edits or changes or whatnot?
I move to approve the minutes.
Okay,
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes approved. Looks like it's just us this evening with no additional citizens. So Eric, do you want to start us off here with the aquatics update?
Sure. So Wember, who's our owner's rep, is producing a kind of a monthly recap of the project update report. So that's what's in your packet. But what I also wanted to make sure you had in your packet was that link to the Aquatic Center live photos and time lapse document. I hope everybody's had a
That's
chance
so cool.
to take a look at that. Yeah. So yeah, it's really kind of fun to watch and you know, to watch it when the couple, you know, it goes by like a week with nothing happening there and all of a sudden, boom, you know, everything happens and there's 15, 20 people on site and cranking away. So we are, we're still on schedule. It's getting a little bit tight with a couple issues. We need to, they were gonna pour some concrete this week, but that's probably not happening till next week. They are gonna work in the right of way in December to for the sewer line. That's that connection from the Forest Service property through our property and to our regular sewer exit there. And so they have to move a water line and a sewer line. So that's going to be a right of way permit that they just got today. That work will start in that first week of December. They should be getting ready to do a pour next week. They're just looking for concrete. So yeah, so that's what's kind of pushing us back right now. We're working with Casey Concrete and it's a volume issue. So they might be needing to supplement that a little bit. And then what else happened at the OIC? Was that was kind of the big.
Yeah, so the pour got pushed back from Thursday again?
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
yeah, and then just the windows and that was about it.
okay. Yeah, I did miss that OIC, so just getting up to speed. So what I talked to Lauren, you know, with the changes in the masonry and the design, the value engineering piece. So the trustees want us to come back to them, you know, kind of show them the value engineering piece, what that looks like, because they haven't had eyes on that yet. We took it to the Public Arts Commission. They approved the new look of the masonry on the outside of the building. But since that happened, we took down the pine tree. And so So not only do we need to kind of show them what that the facade is going to look like of the building, we also want to show them an updated, landscape plan at the same time. So that's probably going to happen on December 3rd is what we're aiming for that presentation. We'll also take a hard look at
To who? What's on
to the trustees.
That's a meeting?
It is because they moved the
We moved the Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving meeting.
Four of us couldn't come.
Yep.
Thanksgiving meeting. Okay.
So that's an actual BOT meeting on the 3rd. Yep. And so we'll hit that with Wember and present those changes so they can get eyes on it and look at the integration of the new landscape plan with the new facade of the building. So and get eyes on that. The news of grant funding, we did not receive the grant for GOCO. Had a long conversation with our regional reps about who's being funded through that process and should we reapply. It was the first, remember it took us 4 concept papers to be invited. We put in a grant. From our conversation with them, we're on the cusp. We wrote a good grant. We have a need. The need is now. We look good to them. There's enough of an ask that looks better to them that we're always going to be on the cusp. It's a really strange process with those grants, and what they're funding is communities that don't have recreational amenities, communities that have one park, that's dilapidated and falling apart. They're funding, they fund pools, but that pool is the recreational amenity of that town. And so they really explained that even though we can show them our need, that we're probably going to be on that cusp for who's coming into their asks, who we're competing against. It's a battle. And I asked, are we dinged because we're in the Roaring Fork Valley? Are we, dinged because Aspen's up the road and Glenwood's right down here that have very different economic pictures than we do, and they couldn't speak to all the peer reviewers, philosophies and how they feel about that. But as regional reps of GOCO, they're like that. They try to make sure that doesn't come into play. It's a one-off. Look at that grant as its own entity and figure out, are these people doing everything we ask them to do for our mission? And we're there. We wrote a really good grant. We checked all the boxes. We're gonna stay on that cusp, I think. So they recommended. I said, so you're recommending that we don't reapply, because I needed to just hear that, right? But yeah, I wouldn't reapply for this project. So
They would or would not?
would not. They said I would not put it back in for the next 2 rounds for this project because they know what's coming. These are regional reps that have talked to everybody. They know what's coming down the pike for them. So it a little frustrating, but at the same time, I'm not going to keep beating my head against the wall. So.
And Eric, they don't think like partial allocations or even a smaller amount or anything?
I asked that too. Yep.
Huh.
And that's not a swaying factor. That they said you asked for what you need and we asked for what we needed. That's not something that would sway them because it's lesser of an ask. Especially coming from your big ask, then they're like, well, then what are you sacrificing in your project? That you told us that you really needed last time. So it's an interesting process, but so I had them all on the phone. So I'm like, well, what do you think about the Chacos Park, project? So, and because I'm like, what are you funding? Because I'm asking them the question, and so I'm not done with them. We're gonna go back in for Chacos probably, or some other need that we have that'll be coming up here in some other cycles. So we'll talk a little bit more about Chacos in a bit here, but we'll stay on the pool. So we did not get the other grant either that we wrote. We just heard about that today. T-Mobile Hometown Grant Program. That was kind of one that came from a citizen that said, hey, have you heard about this? And we hadn't. So it was not an easy, but I was able to get it done in a day, the grant. So, and you know, they didn't tell you this beforehand, but they had 800 applications for 25 rewards on a quarterly basis. So 3.1% chance of getting that. So it probably was a waste of a day, but and they don't, because there's 800, they're like, oh, we're not going to give you any feedback on where you sat there either. So but we'll need to look at you know, for our funding kind of picture now. We'll double down on local resources. We'll look at some local foundations and see if they're interested in the project. We'll look at potential financing of the trellis and solar. You know, I think that's going to be a way we could get that done. So that's our next mission there. So yeah.
What was the ask for GoCo? What was the number?
650,000.
And are there, like, can you apply every year for GoCo, or are there like, you can only apply once every 3 years, or?
No, you can apply every year. We could apply to the next round,
Okay.
but they don't recommend it
Right.
because,
Yeah.
you know, the same reviewers are going to be looking at your project probably. And you know, even though we're on the cusp there, yeah, it's an interesting process. I mean, it's, you know, you know, even at the regional rep level, they're like, well, you guys are going to get this project done. I'm like, yeah, we're going to get it done. We're building it right now. You know, it's like the need is there, right? Because we're actually building it. But
Yeah.
and some of these other asks, they're not going to get it done without their money. But how do you go into that process without showing the effort you've already put in, your grant funding to date, your ask to date, your capital campaign, you know, how much you have. I mean, we wrote a good grant. So I'm not disappointed in what we presented at all, because I know it was a good grant. So
Anecdotally, we got for Spring Gulch, told directly that because of being in the Roaring Fork Valley, that although we put together a really great application that was directly in the focus of Gates Family Foundation in this case, that they're focusing on areas with less private wealth. And so I can commiserate if nothing else.
Yeah. And people have lots of private wealth because they don't give it away.
Right.
So.
I think there's a statistic that's like, we have what, 82 billionaires living in the Roaring Fork Valley, and only 3% give.
Interesting.
Something like that. Less than, it's an incredibly small percentage.
Yeah.
Do you have any numbers of, so how much does GoCo have to give away each year? What kind of numbers are they looking at?
So there was 10 million in ask with 3.5 to give away. In this,
So only
this round.
3.5 million.
And so that's about so they'll have about 3.5 in their next round. They'll have about 3.5 in their next round. So 3 rounds per fiscal year.
Yeah,
But
so they don't really have a lot of money.
No, so their asks are, and I mean, that 10 million in asks are people that have gone through the whole concept paper process too. So they have, there's, you know, so at least they at least try to help themselves out in making those decisions, because there's not, you know,
Well, and then
20
you know,
million trying
the
to.
somewhat truthful answer of you're going to do this project whether you get this money or not,
Yeah.
right? Kind of says we don't really need it, which we don't feel is true. But
Yeah.
and then if we is Alpine Bank, are they still?
Yeah, our
On the list?
our fundraising committee is talking to corporate sponsors here. So there's
Okay, because I didn't
Kathleen.
see that on Cynthia's list. I didn't see that. All I saw on her list were individuals.
Individuals, yeah. So there's a whole Kathleen
Another group.
Monatovich was
Okay.
working on the corporate side. So
And tapping into those billionaires.
Anybody
Everybody knows a
Anybody
billionaire?
has any contacts?
Yeah, they sign up for boards all the time.
Yeah. Right,
Show up at our fundraiser.
yeah.
Didn't you just have a successful fundraiser at,
we did.
yeah?
Yeah, we raised about $95,000 at a speakeasy event that was, put on by Kiko.
Was that-
Soper's Liquor and Wine.
Yeah, was that after? I guess maybe that was after our last meeting. I don't
Well,
remember.
there's a verbal,
Uh-huh.
but we actually don't put it on anything until we get a pledge form or a
Uh-huh.
check.
Mhm.
And so what we actually took in that night was different than the
Yeah,
95.
Then the
than the
promises, yeah.
So the promises are out there. I think I've heard about quite a large sum of money that's been promised, but we haven't gotten pledge forms or anything like that. So that's also our ask for the fundraising committee, is that if you're seeing the list and your people who said that they were gonna give are not on there, you need to follow up with them and get the actual pledge form from them so that we can send out the invoices.
Mhm.
Where does it stand? Where's the fundraising in comparison to the goal
1.1 million
raised?
versus 2.5.
2.5, yeah.
So we have, 1,109,114. And then, so that's the payments and pledges to date.
So there's some money not included in there that's been promised, yeah.
Yeah. So like,
But-
Promised but not confirmed.
correct.
So there's some work to do there for sure.
Okay.
Can the town participate in Colorado Gift Day?
We are, yeah.
Are.
Yeah, we're actually, our Let's Make a Splash campaign is part of that process, yeah. Yeah. So we'll see what we can get from that. We can track that, so it'll be nice, yeah.
Yeah. We've
Is
got $1,000 donation since that went out.
How did it go out, or how is it going out?
It's it was in the Sober Sun had a whole insert to their paper was that last week? Just last
Yeah.
week? Yeah, just last week. And then there's a whole website process, and then we'll email blast it too and stuff, so.
Will you
Because
ma-
it's December, what's the day?
It's like
December-
December 5th or something.
5th
I
or
don't know. So
something.
it's that first.
Can you email blast it to us? Make sure we should be on there, but I'd like to share.
Yeah, okay.
Is it gonna go out on the town email?
I don't know, did
Can we
Anna-
do
is
that?
Anna gonna put that
Do you
on?
guys know about that? That there's a,
The town newsletter. A
Yeah.
town newsletter.
town newsletter you can sign up for out on Town of Carbondale. You can probably sign up right now. So let's see, the first Tuesday in December is December the 3rd. If that's what you think it is, the first Tuesday. Colorado gives.
What's the
Rachel?
calendar? I'm not finding it.
Sorry, I am not able, I'm trying to search it and I'm not finding it with Carbondale.
I was gonna say, I'm not either.
December 10th
I was
Popped
making
up.
sure I could find it.
by the AI bot.
Is it under Make a Splash?
No.
I tried Carbondale Aquatics, Town of Carbondale, and Let's Make a Splash and didn't find it.
On the Gives Day website?
Yeah,
No, it's not, I did not say that. That's where you sign up to get the notifications with the town.
Saying that on Colorado, when you go to the Colorado Gives Day.
Oh, Colorado Gives Day?
website, You can search for a
Cause.
nonprofit, a cause, and it's not showing up on there.
Oh.
That is interesting, huh? Okay, we'll check on that. So any other questions on pool project or capital campaign or grant?
So our big push right now is we're sending out letters next week to basically anybody who's used the pool in the last 5 years that we had contact information from. And so those mail outs will go out, and we're legitimately just straight up asking them to donate. It's one time, or to try and get us contacts. So
Or host a party.
Host party, exactly.
They have not been contacted yet, like that?
Not specifically. I mean, it's expensive to do all of the mail outs. And so we were, trying with the big people first. And so we're just going down the progressive timeline of what Cynthia had laid out for us for how these typically go.
So correct me, so you're sending actual mail to them,
Yeah.
not a newsletter?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the return envelope,
And a
that stop.
remit
Yeah, remit
envelope.
Something that came up at the MAP meeting that I didn't think to ask earlier is, we've done First Fridays, we've done things like that. Have we done places like City Market?
We're
Or-
going to, so we just hired another, so we were, unfortunately, part of the issue is with the last aquatics coordinator and then the hole and then the space. And
Right.
we get our next one on Monday.
Nice.
So it's just the amount of time it takes to run an entire fundraising campaign. I mean, you think about it, like
Yeah.
most of these nonprofits have
Do know.
a staff larger than the rec staff
Right, yeah.
to do just that for a year. So, so we hired somebody in the interim while we're on board. So they'll be able to start picking up some of this stuff. So the first one is the mail out. And then she actually worked today on getting all of the businesses on the chamber website. So we're gonna do a mail out to all of them.
Awesome.
She's also gonna start working on the actual monthly newsletter that I should have done 6 months ago, which I haven't had time to do. And then, so we're really doing a full court press, and we're trying to get a lot of that out now because we're either in the position where we have businesses who need their end of year tax write-off,
Mhm.
or they have to wait till 2025.
Right.
So we're trying to hit them kind of right now to be like, donate now or wait till 2025 and get them right at the first of the year.
Cool. Perfect.
So Eric's working on the grant piece and we're working on the outreach piece. And then, so we're doing the 2 mail outs. Then we have the newsletter starting to roll out, and we're gonna start, they'll start doing like Instagram and all that stuff on the weekly basis. And then we will also start in the new year, the tables. So kind of after the Christmas spending shock goes away. But we have, we were looking at pollinator chocolate, Sopris, we were gonna talk to Ace. We haven't talked to Ace or City Market yet. But those are all on the list of things to do tables there.
Cool.
Get back to that. But the biggest have been the pool parties, or just people, like, that's where most of our stuff has come from, are the big events.
Cool.
Who did you say was hired?
We just hired an interim. Her name's Autumn. Yeah, so she's gonna work as a subcontractor for Cynthia just to do a lot of that stuff.
And we have our aquatics coordinator starting Monday,
Monday.
because it'll be his first day. Yeah. Brian Froelich, yeah, is his
Yeah.
name, so.
So on Wednesday, I'm gonna brief both of them on everything together. I did brief her a little bit today on it too, so hopefully between.
Tell us about the aquatics person later. I mean, the new hire.
The QR code on the Gibbs guide is taking you to the salts. The one that's right above you in the listing is the Salt Education Foundation, and both of those QR codes go to there.
Oh, no kidding. Oh,
Sorry to
geez.
tell you.
No.
To look at.
No, thanks for telling us.
I couldn't even find it.
So I knew where to find the giving guide.
Oh.
And then if you search Sober Sun Giving Guide 2025, you can find the PDF.
Oh, on that, okay.
Yeah, and then I tried to use that to get to the Colorado Gift State page.
I know, I'm looking on the Silver Sun now too.
Okay, interesting.
Todd. We need your
Well, at least it
help.
didn't go to the Sober Sun. You know.
I'd rather have it go there than basalt.
True.
Oh, that's recorded. Oh, well. Okay, any more
Yeah.
questions on the fundraising or the status of the building of the pool, or any updates on that? Okay.
All right, so next on our agenda, last night at the trustee meeting, we presented our capital improvement budget for a 5-year kind of look at capital improvement expenditures out of the budget. So if you open up that first spreadsheet, and you guys have seen these before, but they have changed, so I didn't want to just, not show them to you for the final rendition. And so if you look at the Recreation and Parks General Fund, so these are general fund expenditures, and look at 2025, that's what's in budget right now and waiting approval. So one is the Chalkers Park Master Plan implementation. So that 200,000 in there will start the design document process. Last night we presented the final schematic design of that project to the trustees for approval. You guys will be able to see that. We hope to have that up as far as what the final master plan document looks like, and also the appendix of how that was created, all the data that was used to create that master plan at the schematic level up on our websites by Friday. So you guys can go out to Parks and Rec website and in our miscellaneous pull down, we have all of our master plans there from since I've been here. So so that's where it'll be. That's where it'll live to go find and just to check out. We'll probably put it on the town website too at that point. So the other things that are included in there are ADA water fountain improvements for Colorado Meadows, Miners, and North Face Park. So those water fountains were purchased out of this year. What that 20,000 is, it's to place the concrete pad so that you have ADA accessibility on the concrete pad to those ADA water fountains. And we did purchase and the technology is, getting good on these water fountains that we're purchasing. So we have a frost-free water fountain. We can actually have that water fountain function on a year-round basis in our parks. So we've always had to shut them off, on April. Turn them on in April, shut them off in October, and we have some nice weather, and our parks get a lot of use after, before and after that. So we're excited about that option to have water available to the public in our parks, those parks at least, on a year-round basis. So the other thing that's in there is the Thompson Park improvements. So what we saw happening out at Thompson Park around the house there was our irrigation and the wind blowing and everything was starting to affect the foundation of that house because it's right next to it. And so we're going to create a buffer zone there, pull the irrigation out, protect that foundation of that historic house. So that's what that 60,000 is in there for. So those are next year's expenditures out of the general fund on the capital improvement side. So
I have a question on I understand that's diagram, but so 2 questions. One is that, so at the bottom where it's in blue and it says total yearly capital expenditures, 3.2 million, current total funded amount, 1.4 million. So what does that mean? I'm looking at the page 42.
Oh, that's adding up the 5-year plan.
So
they're adding up that entire.
Right, so 5 years, you're saying
projected.
we need to be able to spend 3.2 million, but we really only have 1.4 million?
Oh, yeah, because what this doesn't show is any kind of grant funding that might be available.
And then the other thing
total funded amount, I don't know why they project that out actually, because that's a big unknown, but I think that's just, yeah.
I don't know where that was summed from. It
Yeah,
doesn't
either
seem to
do
make
I.
sense. And so then the other thing was with the Chacos plan. So as I recall last night, your final number on that could be in the 3 million vicinity.
Yeah.
Not 1.8, right?
Right, so what was produced you know, through that process, and also for the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant, you know, was a budget. And so our total, you know, schematic design estimates for not only the park area, the right-of-way area, and the plaza area was 2.8 million.
Yeah, but it didn't have the 7% add on. If it doesn't get built next year and it's built the next year, there's like an increase of 7%. I mean,
Yeah, and then
roughly,
they added,
it's
they
roughly
did do a project escalation
you
on
know,
that, yeah.
so
to
that
just-
kind of thing. So that number doesn't show up on this document at all.
No, and if you see that little note up top, no, 2005 expenditures are included in the budget. 2006 to 2029 are estimations only. It's, so they did
Yeah.
give
mhm.
that little explanation of those other numbers there, so.
Yeah, yeah. I just, you know, when I, sitting with Age Friendly and we all kind of took a gasp. I think the trustees did too. Great ideas, but big expenses.
Yeah, you know, at the schematic level of a park design, we did not say, don't dream, you know, we
Yeah.
said, let's
Yeah,
dream.
no, right,
And let's see what, you know, what's out there.
right.
So this pricing is the Cadillac model.
Oh, I
right?
love it.
So,
If we could get
you
some
know,
billionaire, if one of us had finally won the lottery, like we keep trying to, you know, all these ideas would be great, but I don't know, I hate to be a wet blanket all the time, but, you know, I feel like in some sense, we're setting ourselves up like the pool to be reaching for something that's really out of our reach. I love it. I love the design. It's great. It would be so cool if we could really do that. But once again, it's like we live in this community where people think that there's a whole lot more money around here than the town budget actually has. And there are, as the trustees can attest, lots of competing needs around town, some around safety, life safety, not enjoying a summer afternoon in the park. And so it just, I don't know, I guess I just feel like it behooves us to come up with another, I mean, and he sort of did in a way where he had the phased approach to implementing it. You know, if it may be just this part, but maybe it's this and it's this. But it's like, again, once you, like the pool, once you show people this great thing, it's what they want. It's what we want now. And coming on the heels of the pool, I just don't think we're gonna be able to have another capital campaign for it. You know, it's like, somehow trying to be grounded.
Well, it might just be that it gets pushed off, like in, you know, a real world, or that we'd love, in an ideal world, we'd love to be following this timeline. But it may get pushed later.
Yeah.
So this is just kind of like what we see coming down the pike, what we'd like to see happen. And it
Right, but
may not
this-
happen.
But it's spending 200,000 next year to implement the schematic design.
Right, well,
Right.
because we can't price anything until we have the schematics, right?
so
To
that we have
really
the
know
design-
what,
The design documents, yeah. so-
yeah.
And
So-
when has
then-
anything
then it
ever
goes to
come in, and when has
construction
anything
then.
ever come in less than proposed in the original?
That'd be nice.
You?
Hey, 10 to 15 years ago.
Right.
So, well, I see you. Are you thinking that we don't spend the 200,000 on this then and just let it sit for a while?
I think
Is that what you're suggesting?
another, I don't know, I mean, the trustees approved it. So
I mean,
I guess it goes.
I'm super excited about it. And I think it's okay to have the plan there, particularly with a grant application that we put in that we, you know, if the grant comes through and they're willing to put in $1 million, it does change things on this. And then, I mean, I just think even just getting the undergrounding done, which we committed to doing in our budget next year,
Yeah.
would be awesome. And a huge part of getting that infrastructure taken care of. So I think it can fit within our priorities, particularly if, and I don't think we should look to a fundraising campaign like we're doing for the pool. There might be some people who step up on their own who are like, hey, let's make this happen. I don't want it to, you know, they'll look at the alternative timelines, which you guys will see, or you can look in our packet from last night. It was super helpful to
Mhm.
see alternative A is like, here's what the timeline would look like, and the fundraising. Alternative B is like, okay, we don't get that grant. It needs to be spread out over 4 years, and here's what gets built first and waits till the end, kind of thing. And there are things that we could cut out that we know will be high budget items, like the water play area and stuff like that. But so I think it's worth it for us to do it next year. And we also have a really solid budget right now. We are not experiencing any sort of, like, we're doing fine, both in the rec general fund, which we have the pool, but we had an 18% increase over budget this year in our income, in sales tax. And so I think we should kind of get organized while we can in case things are not so good in the future. But that's how I look at it.
Thanks, Erica.
I just don't want to be seen as the willy-nilly Parks Board that just spends money right and left that we don't have.
But this
Why not?
started with the idea that the undergrounding needed to happen, and
Yeah,
why go
we
do
did.
that work without understanding a vision and, get some efficiencies set up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm definitely gonna go back and listen to the meeting last night and look at all this.
I mean, the rendering is very cool. It is very exciting.
Of course it is.
I know. But it's really a good presentation, and it's both in our materials, or you can watch the meeting, but we had the full PowerPoint in our packet too.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, and it'll be up on our websites hopefully by Friday. We're just tweaking a few things and then we'll get it up on the website. So everybody can take a good look at all the public can take a good look at it too. Yeah, there's some bird's eye view, kind of from the Dinkle building renderings that really paint the whole picture of the entire project, because it's in that little space. And so you can see everything that we've talked about in one, kind of photo, 1,000 words coming from that photo. So,
Cool.
yeah, so it's neat.
Do you want to go on to the next spreadsheet then?
Yeah, so we're
This
going
Fund
to-
75 thing?
Yeah, so
And
this
explain
is our
that.
rec sales and use tax fund, so our half-cent, funded specifically for recreation. So we just have, what's in there is obviously the pool. And what's also in there for next year is a Crystal River restoration project. So that's nearing completion. Really, the last piece that needs to happen there is just the interpretive signage. So that's being designed right now by DHM and will be finalized here pretty quick by December. Go out to bid and to production at that time for a March 15th install when we open that park back up. That's the end of the Bald Eagle closure period, March 15th. So we're gonna try to be ready to install in the ground right then and there, because starting April 1st, the Migratory Bird Act kicks in. So we have a 2 weeks window there to try to get that work done with machinery, if needed. If not, we'll do what we've been doing in the Migratory Bird Act timeframe and not use machinery. So,
Okay.
so that's where that's going. And then, we have some equipment replacement needs at the rec center and some building system repairs that we put some money in there towards. So.
go away.
I know.
No,
Yeah,
that
that's
stays
good.
in
I know.
there.
I don't know why it stays there. So yes.
Don't we see that about every year these days, the skylights?
Yeah.
Are they gonna like crash in on us during
No,
class?
the leaking we found out wasn't actually coming from the skylights where we thought it was coming from. It's actually coming from perforations in the membrane on the roof. So that's what's being repaired.
Oh,
And we're still just caulking the skylights because they do leak if we don't go up there and do some maintenance on them, of course, but they weren't the cause of the major leak. So, yeah, so Margaret's like, what is the skylight stuff?
So have the leaks been fixed, or are we looking at we have a schedule for a new roof or what?
No, they're repairing existing right now. So, and trying to make that last and see how that goes first. So,
Yeah, we did the gym
Yeah.
roof this year, and then we'll do over the auxiliary, so the offices and the lobby area this year.
okay. Eric, I see you've got for 3 new pickleball courts. Is that I mean, that's like, are those the 3 that we approved a while back? So we're gonna add 3 more, or does this still have to do with the painting of the?
No,
new-
this would be 3 additional, courts out there, just to.
Okay,
And we'll see, that's why it's at the end of our 5 years, we'll see what happens out there. We'll see if it's
right.
needed.
And we'll have a master plan by then.
Yep.
Hey, that's not on here. How come that's not on any of these budget things?
Because that would hopefully be just grant funded. So we don't put that grant funded stuff on here,
And it's not really like a capital improvement.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Like it's not
Yeah.
a piece of equipment
Yeah.
or a
Okay, yeah,
thing.
yeah,
on the
you're
ground.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Get it. Okay.
And then we do, and Eric is happy about this, but in 2026, we do need to replace our public toilets, especially in Giannetti would be the first one to go. Miners would be the second. And we are getting dinged on our, by Sursa on our one in Giannetti. So that's why it's in here and that's why we need to do it.
We've
So-
only been talking about that for
Yeah,
how many years
for
now?
many, many years. Yeah, so it's
We're
in
still
here.
putting it off 2 more years. Jeez.
Yep.
Oy vey.
So
Okay.
it's coming though. It's in there.
Along those,
It's moving closer to.
We'll go fund that.
well, along those lines, have you seen the automated bathroom in downtown Fruta? I don't know, maybe they're
Oh.
elsewhere as well.
Yeah.
Go to Fruit, next time you're in Fruta, go downtown and go to the bathroom. It is like the coolest public bathroom experience I've ever had. Although when I lived in New Zealand in high school, they had those. So that was a few decades ago. I don't know why we're so slow to adopt that, but it's one of those that it's like vandalism proof. The sink is burly. I have a video of me in it, not going to the bathroom, just like touring around. And then it washes itself when you leave.
What?
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
been looking at those. I've
And
been
it's,
talking to those
I
guys.
looked it up in there because I found articles about it in Fruta because I was like, how much is this thing? And it's in that $300,000 range.
Really?
Yeah.
That's last.
And literally they brought it in and it was like, so.
Reading reviews online.
Yeah.
Of the Fruita bathroom?
First flash.
Yeah.
It's the first
Bike inside, there
flush.
was plenty of room.
It's massive.
A bike
it's-
wash too.
I
Hey.
know,
Yeah.
it's grippy. The sink, there's no way anybody could destroy the sink. Like I put all my weight on it. I was like, really? Nobody because it was like, this is like vandalism proof or whatever. And I was like, I'm gonna try. Anyway,
I think it's an Australian company.
is it?
I think it's from Australia.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll
there
just
you
say
go.
that.
Yeah, I've been looking at those.
Yeah.
I've been envious of those, yes.
Right. So go to Fruta, go on a little field trip.
Oh my
Okay,
God,
awesome.
Okay. Okay, any more questions about any of this, capital improvement? Okay, we'll move on to, the map thing. I know some of you guys were there at the meeting. Thank you for going. I was watching online. So Eric, what do you want to
So,
talk about
this
within
is-
regards to that?
This is still in draft form, so that just, we were asked to kind of put it out in front of you guys, so everybody had eyes on it. The people that attended the meeting with the bike pedestrian trails got a chance to not see the plan. It was more of a discussion about
Huh.
the plan.
I thought they were
And-
gonna be like,
Yeah, I
the
thought we
person
were
was
gonna
gonna be presenting
I
and
did too.
walking things through it, and then there wasn't even, they didn't even open it up to any comments for any of the other
Yeah,
commissions that were there,
yeah. It was,
which I thought was a little unusual.
Yeah, and it was just kind of a weird meeting because of the location too. It wasn't normal, like, just it
Yeah.
wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't very inviting to comment and so I don't know, I think it's a good plan. I liked it. We'll use it when it gets finalized for our master plan, right? And our park recreation and trails and cemeteries master plan. We're gonna use that work that's done there and borrow from it and And, so, I think it was a good plan. They were looking, it was interesting. Some of the commissioners were looking for that kind of generic fix, and it doesn't exist with our roadways and systems. And so I don't know how, I'd love other commissioners that were there to kind of express what they thought, but
Yeah, I was very confused at how the meeting was run. I wasn't sure whether I was supposed to be speaking at the beginning with just general comments from people or, yeah, and then there were two commissioners from P and Z that were at the table and I was like, oh, can we just sit up there too? It's like, to me, it was not handled well. As a person from Age Friendly who worked on 133, we are severely disappointed with this plan. As Nikki put it today, she says it's like we've been given a giant jigsaw puzzle with no picture of what it's supposed to look like, how the pieces go together. It's a huge inventory of lots of intersections. They did not integrate our age-friendly 133 report very well at all. Like the two biggest things that came out of our report were jaywalking at Naslanic and then difficulties crossing down by Want and Montessori school. And trustees have picked up on that. That's like, oh my gosh, can't we do this sooner than 2 years from now? Get those things built. Whereas they have it down in their like 5 to 10 over 10-year plan. They have roundabout at Industry Way at their over 10-year plan. It's like, it just didn't, and I look at some of the things, they have a whole lot of interventions on Hendrick. It's like, oh, of the 159 people that responded to their survey, I mean, they got a third of what we got. They hardly got any public input on this thing. And it's a great document of what's been done in a lot of places that are like Lakewood, Arvada, Denver, DC. Some of the examples I saw look like DC. And yet didn't really pull together what's appropriate for Carbondale. They identify some of our corridors. But we already know what our corridors are, right? It doesn't really say anything new. The one piece I liked about it was it did advocate using what we call tactical urbanism, which are low cost, quickly implemented interventions, like painting a traffic circle in the road and putting up a few posts to get in neighborhoods, right? You don't have to change any of the curbs, but to get people to slow down. I would love to see that. There's a huge intersection at Wheel and Village right outside my door. And yeah, it's like every time I come out of there and there's like lots of cars parked on Wheel, it's very hard to see around the corner. And so somebody coming in on Village, just tonight, it's like, break, wait for 3 cars to go by because they couldn't see them. And if you had something that, just all kinds of places in all of our neighborhoods to force people to slow down. It's worked really well in Boulder, lots of places like that. And then paint things, like paint a bulb out, paint corners, paint things, see how they work. Like when we did they had I don't know what they called it, they kind of put out temporary things along 8th Street to see what we liked, what worked best for making better bikeway, walkway and through there. Some of those ideas I think were really good. And so what we're asking for, and also it's already out in the Sopra Sun, an article on that meeting last week, was they gave a one-liner to incorporating a federal program called Complete Streets. And so we're asking them, and they have said they are going to, before the final is presented to the trustees, to have a couple of pages on what is Complete Streets and how this proposal incorporates the ideas of Complete Streets, which also is safe routes to school, which is the only place that I really see that Parks and Rec comes into this process. To me, it's not really a recreation. It wasn't anything for our commission to really feed in on this. I don't think. Maybe others have some other ideas. I mean, since bike peds and trails is covering a bike aspect of it. But the safe routes to school that part of it does show, we need to improve some of these pathways that get to our schools. So it's been pretty frustrating for us.
I think we'd be involved in the wayfinding piece too, like when we
Yes,
do
yes.
our master plan, that'll be our signage plan, our wayfinding to all of our amenities.
Yes.
I think it'd be a big piece of that, and then I think that's where we would use that, because that was part of this
Right.
plan was we need better wayfinding, right? So,
Yeah, that's what I was texting you in the middle of the meeting. Like, there's our signage thing. This town needs one umbrella, which really they do, like, what is the comprehensive look of all the signs?
Yeah.
And then each of the organizations, like, what do we want on the signs? And where, and that kind of thing. But to work is, so we have a unified look and we're communicating everything that we want to be communicating as a town.
Because it really is important. If you've come to town and you're staying at one of the hotels out on the street there, oh, here's this path and here's where it takes you. If you're
Yeah.
trying to walk around town.
Yeah. Drew?
Yeah, I've sat in on all the map meetings so far, and I hear your frustration on it. And I think there's also been just like this massive disconnect between a portion of Bike Ped Commission and the consultant. It's been frustrating to watch in general. I feel like a lot of the vision and identification of problems in town is something that the commission probably should have done prior to asking the consultant. Because even in the last meeting, there was frustration about, are these intersections or are these roads, actually the spots that we should be focusing on? And it's like, well, geez, if like that's the question, like we should have been asking that potentially over a year ago. And so generally, I think the plan is very good. They did take into account some comments about like examples from different places, and they tried to create all the imagery in the map report to be smaller, more consistent towns with Carbondale to kind of have that feel. There's a broad range of fixes, which I think is good. The part that I think I'm most excited about is kind of like a test street where they're just gonna like figure this out and like try it. That fits so much into public works and like what they have the bandwidth to do. As we roll all this stuff kind of into it, and as we even finalize the plan, and as we change one street, other streets are also going to change. And so, there's a couple comments at that last meeting, residents coming in and speaking and saying like, this is a residential street. And it's like, yeah, all of Carbondale streets are residential. And so, we're going to change one place and we're just going to have to figure out what happens next, And so I think what the consultant is proposing, and not even proposing, just kind of outlining and letting public works work with it and letting the commissions work with it, is actually really, really good. And I think if the commission had an issue with they went back and forth for several meetings in a row about vision statements and how vision statements were integrated with the actual projects. I think if that's kind of an issue still, I think at this point, kind of have to push through that a little bit, and look at what actually we'll put into place and how those things will kind of affect what goes on in town. But overall, I think, there's tons of solutions, there's tons of data behind it. And overall, I think it will be helpful for kind of seeing how some of these changes affect other things and how it helps. And sometimes it probably won't. And so we fix it. So.
Yeah, and I want to thank you, Drew, because I think you were you were our representative on that commission too. So thank you for doing that. I kind of forgot about,
Yeah.
about all that.
Yeah. So kind of the biggest parts that I input, since it doesn't really relate to parks besides, wayfinding, things like that, the certain areas that came up highlighted that were high traffic areas. So places over by Gianetti Park, over by Miners Park, and particularly with the Hendricks Drive being kind of like their test site street, giving the consultant a little bit of information about just like, is this typically like a neighborhood park? Is this a park where tons of leagues are coming to play? Is this a park that, has dogs at it and things like that? And so kind of looking at the usage of each of those parks and kind of steering them towards those resources on the Parks and Rec website, to kind of look at, you know, if we're talking about street crossings near, you know, the nature park and a dog thing, like that should have certain things in effect so that, you know, that's aware of what's happening in that area. You know, if Miners Park is heavily used for leagues, you know, we should be figuring out parking. Like there is absolutely no striping on that street and it's chaos at 7:30 at night when a league finishes because there's tons of people crossing both sides of the street all over the place. And so kind of giving them some feedback on park usage and things like that to kind of inform, you know, when we put in sidewalks or when we put in striping or when we put in a crosswalk, like what does that look like for who's using that area of town? So that's primarily what I've been doing.
Well, that's
But, yeah.
huge. So thank you so much. And I know that's a commitment outside of, you know, our commission meetings and things like that. So I appreciate you doing that.
Well, and this isn't a plan that, you know, is gonna sit on the shelf. It's gonna be an active plan. It's gonna be a malleable plan too, right? So it's not here's our 10-year, you know, map plan for the town. They're gonna review it in every 2 or 3 years, right? And so they'll be able to reassess everything, you know, hopefully people will buy into it a little bit more, I hope.
Yeah,
You know,
I hope so too.
because you got to get past that, right? You got to just start implementing it at some point, right? Because you can stay analysis paralysis forever if you want to with these things, and so
Yeah.
yeah. So I'd love to see it get worked into some action plans and test that test period, right? So and then
Another
reviewed.
another good thing they did in it was for a couple of the places where they recommended some changes, they had a section that said, I think it was essentially unintended consequences. You know, it's like, oh, okay, if we push traffic off this street,
Huh.
where's it gonna go?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so playing that checkers game of, okay, it's gonna go to there, and so how do we mitigate that, and how's it gonna go to there? And that was the thing that's gonna have to, that you're saying, that's, you're gonna have to do it and start to see what happens. And as the town grows and changes, as
Mhm.
we
Right.
get finished with the marketplace housing, what's that gonna do out there? You know, that may actually cause the need for an industry roundabout to happen a lot sooner.
Or this development back here.
And this
Just
development,
fits
and the north downtown development, you know, those are really gonna change 8th Street and you know, all of this.
It was I mean, I've never been involved in anything like that. So it was, just reading the document was educational to me about like what kinds of things do slow or change traffic. I never really thought about it much, you know? And so I found it very educational. I also thought it was interesting too, because he's talking about one-way streets and I'm like, you know, yeah, why not? And then he's like, but that wouldn't be for Carbondale. And I was like, really? You know, it would give us bike lanes and different things like that too. So I was like, well, hopefully not everything's off the table, but yeah, so I don't know, I found it very educational. So.
And do you think they, you know, covered the multimodal piece of it in the plan? Like I mean, because, you know, the philosophy was to figure out how to make other methods of travel, pedestrian and two-wheeled travel better. And do you think that got satisfied with this plan?
That's a great question. No. I think that is my biggest kind of issue with this. I mean, the largest problem areas surround 133. And it's just a longer process. Dealing with CDOT and getting approvals to do things on 133 is just simply going to take longer. And so I felt like that wasn't quite reflected. I mean, they put it in their longer timeline, but putting it in the longer timeline didn't reflect that even though it is going to take longer, it is a primary. Like it needs to start happening now because it will take that long. And it is, you know, something that is massively impactful to all communities in town. I do think there could have been some, like, kind of what you're talking about, just painting some stuff, you know, like bike lanes and things like that. Like so many people in Carbondale bike, like the number of places that are properly striped. There's a striping crew in the roundabout as of this week, but you you know, some just simple things like that, I think probably could be pushed up to the beginning of this as well, and just, you know, making sure that awareness is there. I don't think any of this really works super well if we don't have some sort of, you know, big push as well of like how to do this. Like people still don't even know how to drive in a roundabout. And so, you know, for a certain level of things, like we need to start with, you know, really clear signage and striping so that people see it really, really well. Because otherwise we potentially implement something that is on like a less safer side, if people don't understand how to use it. Personal philosophy, I'm super against mini tiny roundabouts in residential areas because
They're annoying.
they're annoying. Half of people drive straight through them. Half of people don't even know what to do. And yeah, and so like, I think there could have been way more kind of like smaller fixes, simple things, and things that were, you know, designated longer timeline, but somehow also designated highest priority. So, yeah.
And just for the record, Age Friendly is not done. We are, we had one guy from CDOT Region 3 that was helping us, Bill Crawford, and he kind of waffled on us a little. So we found his boss, apparently. So we're meeting with him next week.
Well, and I think that's
So
like
more
such a
stuff
great
on
resource
133.
too.
Yeah.
I'm, you know, along like the funding side of things and just like time to look this sort of thing up. I think Age Friendly has been a massive resource in just kind of like coming up with those connections and like, we need this information. It's like, oh, we got it. Like, so yeah, huge shout out.
I don't know
there.
how many of you know, but Nikki was awarded the state AARP Volunteer of the Year.
Whoa,
Yeah.
good on her.
The
She
woman who will
deserves
not let
it.
go.
Deserves it.
Yeah,
Where was the consultant from?
I think he's Front Range.
Front. What?
FHU.
FHU.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Felsberg, Holt and Ullvig.
And are they at
in
their
Denver.
Front Range, the Denver company? Okay. Thanks. Okay, anything else on the mobility plan? Okay, Eric? You wanna talk about our anything you wanna highlight from the third quarter thing? It's just in there
Yeah,
for us,
just
our reading
information.
enjoyment.
Yeah, it's just a lot of information about, you know, that quarter and what happened during that quarter. So
Mhm.
our integrated weed management plan, that'll come to you a little bit later this year for next year. We're just got a little stacked up right now with other stuff. So you'll probably see that February, I think, you know, kind of for our thoughts and processes, what worked last year and what will be proposed for next year. So that'll probably come to you a little bit later.
Okay.
Then the rest is kind of, you know, just good information just about everything going on where we.
It's too bad you guys aren't busier.
But what I wanted to just highlight here is, you know, something we don't talk about a lot, but Gateway RV Park, you know, I mean, that place is busy. If you look at the numbers and we ran those numbers there, I mean, 92% occupancy rate for the entire summer. If you just look at our available RV sites. And so really that's 100% full, right? Because what's happening there is, you know, it's a 2-week stay limit there. So there'll be a day or two in between the next booking that makes up that 8% that's not booked out, you know, so that place is full all summer long.
We started making any money there yet?
No, we keep spending that money.
Nothing we can siphon off for the pool yet?
Are there ever any issues reported there between people under the bridge
Oh, yeah.
and the park?
Yeah, we had to
That
put up
involves
some,
police
we had to
or?
put up some additional signage there, saying this is a private park, you know, these are private amenities and
Yeah,
English and Spanish, and you can't.
yeah, yeah.
You're trespassing if you come.
I was walking out there and I sent Eric some photographs of trash that I was seeing all around there. It was like a giant pile of trash that was like behind the dumpster that's in there or something. And it was like, you know, there's fine lines out there between what's our responsibility and what's county responsibility. It makes it very challenging, I think.
Yeah, it's usually our responsibility, so.
Yeah.
We're the ones who really deal with it, so. So that's what I wanted to just highlight there. Margaret can highlight kind of her report of the rec center and programs, you know, where, you know, as far as, do you want to just talk about where we sit there, Margaret, with rec center usage and active memberships? I mean, it's just, we're in a good zone. I mean, a historic good zone of memberships and admittances. So the rec centers post-COVID is getting busier and busier. I mean, you can add to that, but
That's about it.
that's about it. Okay.
Yeah, we're definitely starting to see, my barometer is always the fitness classes and what attendance is like, and attendance is finally back to what it was pre-COVID. So, and so our memberships seem to be going up steadily, and so they're pretty much matched now. So rentals are up, all of that stuff. So.
With these silver sneaker things and Renew Active and stuff, do those organizations pay
Yes,
us?
we get a certain amount per person per entry.
Okay.
But the entries are also capped
Yes.
by those companies. So like we get 10 per month. I don't know if it's still that way. That's the way it
It's
used
for
to be, but-
silver sneakers, but I
Yeah.
don't actually know what Renew Actives is.
So if they
because we do
come
get
30
more.
times a month, we only get paid for 10.
10.
Oh,
But if they
Huh.
come 30 times a month, that program is working, right? So,
so you guys are losing money on me then, probably,
yep,
huh?
but we'd be losing money if that program didn't exist.
There you
know?
go.
I mean, those programs are amazing to get people out and active, you know?
Yeah.
It's really neat.
Yeah, okay.
I had a question about our town one table. Everybody's, you made a comment in here that all of the rec staff continue to be out of town for this event. Is it
Yeah.
at a bad time? Should we schedule
Yeah,
it
so
differently?
I think would say 5 years in a row, maybe 1 to 2 staff members are actually in town for it.
Yeah, should it be rescheduled?
That's the historic time.
Okay.
So just, I think it's just don't continue to expect a presence from the rec staff there.
And you all don't,
Set the
you're not involved with
expectation.
setup or take,
I mean, we are, but it's.
What's happening in that zone, all of our programming, leagues, baseball, that stuff ends, you know, and so there's a little window before everything else starts up.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
people take some.
that's when you
vacation
all
time.
can take some vacation time.
Yeah,
Okay. And what is a bananas trip?
bananas
We have
fun.
to go on and find out.
Very fun.
It's a place called Bananas in
Fun
Grand Junction.
park,
It's
yeah.
a fun park.
Oh,
So it
okay.
has like
Go-karts,
go-karts,
yeah,
a laser tag.
See, you do need to go
arcade
on that.
games, and-
It wasn't one of the senior trips. I didn't go.
Maybe it should be. That's a
Yeah, maybe we
brilliant
should
idea.
make it a senior, I'll go on that one.
Sign the waiver first.
Yeah, bumper cars.
Yeah, and we had a rough beginning of the year for the older adult trips, and then they've started to pick back up. So the list is increasing, and so we actually are filled for this upcoming one, so.
Rough, like low attendance or rough seniors?
Rough low attendance. We are,
Fight.
I would say that the silver sneakers and then the older adult trip programs, we're having kind of a wave of like 50s, 60s, maybe low 70s coming in. And everybody in that category thinks that they're not older adults. And so they're not partaking in silver sneakers. Exactly. But it's so like to however you title it, it's kind of so, and then the people who have been coming to Silver Sneakers historically since we've started it and the trips are unfortunately aging out as it. And so, and like our vans, we have had one on order for over a year at this point, which is still not under construction in the factory. So we have quite a few people who have said, well, I can't go because I can't get in and out of the vans anymore. And so until we get our new vans, they're not able to go. And so that's kind of part of one of our issues for the programs. So.
Are there no ways to adapt? Like handrails?
They're 15-pack vans and it's like the seat belts and stuff like that. Like they're like, well, I just don't want to get my neck cut in half with it.
And it's a lot of crawling around to get in
It
there. They're
is,
very
and it's-
tight. I mean,
it's
I went on one trip just to see what it was like. I am a senior, but I went off, and it is like, oh yeah, I'm one of the more agile ones. So I got to crawl to the back of the van and it's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
not
not
exactly.
and so we have one on order and who knows when it's actually going to get here. He calls every week or every month to check on it. So yeah, so that's kind of what we've redefined some of the classes. Silver Sneakers is still going strong, but it's, but like the Carbondale Builders is, kind of coming back up. And so kind of changing the names. So the active and fit kind of stuff. And that's what we're trying to get across for some of the older adult trips too, is that, you can bring your family, you can bring your kids, you can bring multi-generations. So it's fine.
I see the note about T-ball being like little to no overhead always fills and covers its cost. As someone who was on the wait list for T-ball this year, is there thought to expand that? I know I didn't realize how quickly it would fill out, and I know I talked to several other people that were like, yeah, I tried to sign up for T-ball and it's full.
We actually are just limited on field space.
Okay.
For a
Yeah.
lot of it.
Yeah.
We either don't have the staff, we don't have enough volunteers, or we don't have the staff to run programs that fill, or we don't have the space. We fill every field. Just like the gym in the winter, the ball fields in the summer for any availability is usually booked.
Any other questions on the quarterly report? Good, okay. We're moving on to special event task force. So we're doing a little differently this year. We are still gonna have 2 meetings. The public is invited to this. This has been happening since 2013, where we actually review last year's special events in a public forum. People can say, hey, that event was way too loud, went past its time or whatever, and it's hopefully a solutions-based meeting, right? And so we try to talk about those. It's also an opportunity to show special event producers anything that's changed in the process. We just went to state collected tax versus home rule collected tax. So just making sure everybody's up to speed with the process of holding a special event here, especially if you're a new special event producer. This is your time to come and learn how to do it, get on the calendar. Because if you come to me 3 weeks before your event in July, I'm gonna say, we're not talking about this year, we're talking about next year. So this is the way to kind of process our processes for the special event producers, also for the neighbors of those parks, for them to come and express their concerns or ideas on how to make these events, especially our historic events, better. So that first meeting, and everybody here is invited to that process. It's a public open forum. And anybody who shows up is on the special event task force, so it's good for your resume.
I need a new resume.
So the first meeting is next Wednesday. We tried a little different. We did a daytime meeting here in this room. And so we're gonna and that's gonna be reviewing last year's, events and just kind of going through the calendar, just going through our rules and regs and going through the calendar and just seeing if there's anything we missed on the recaps and debriefs of these, in case people weren't available for any of those, or just, didn't feel like they had a voice. So this is a spot for the neighbors and other town members to voice their concerns. So, so that's kind of really looking at last year's events and process. And then proposed 2025 events, will be looked at later on in January this year. We just didn't have maybe the bandwidth to get it done before the first of the year. And so we're looking at next year's events in January 15th. That's going to be an evening meeting here, 5:30 to 7 on Wednesday, January 15th. So both meetings take place here in Town Hall. And that's really looking at next year's events, hopefully getting that calendar finalized, that calendar will go in front of the trustees for approval, probably the 26th, January 26th, I think is the meeting. So just a little bit more time for, just for people to get their event to us and their details to us. Emails have gone out saying, are you going to be producing this event next year? Is it the same dates? What's the times? Who's the contact? So that's how we produce our calendar, just all those details on the calendar. So we make sure we're not having competing, events at the same place, time, and date. So, but everybody's invited to those if they're interested. So.
Rose was going, I think, but do you want an official representative from Parks and Rec,
it'd be
the commission?
great because that'd be great if somebody's interested in that, to just see where our process is.
Available.
Yeah, so if anybody's interested, let me know. First meeting is next Wednesday at noon. So.
Yeah.
I just have one thing. We, and Lauren may not even have had a chance to talk to you about it. We approved community grants last night, and part of that process is approving some funds for events, including the Sunday music. And a few of us got feedback from different people that feeling like those events weren't super well organized this year. They didn't know they were happening and asked if what we could do to help revamp them. So we actually pulled them off of our community grants. We're adding more money to it, but then asking the existing folks if they really want to do it, but potentially even putting it out to RFP as like, who wants to take this on, so that we can just have, and maybe it's fewer. So I don't know if, the way I think Ben and Lauren had talked about it is maybe even bringing it up to the special events task force of like, well, this might change. So maybe it doesn't need to be really discussed until the January meeting, but is there a better night? Is there like kind of just, it's a chance to revisit it essentially, and really help it. I heard from a number of people that just said, oh, we didn't even know it was happening. The publicity was really low, and it feels like something that's really Carbondale that we want to make sure is feeling really good. So we went ahead and made that change. So we didn't really, in the past, we've automatically granted the money right to the folks who put it on, and we didn't do that this time. So just putting that out there so you guys know, but also so for the task force meeting.
No, that's great. Yeah, and that's where, that's what this task force is about, is to look at stuff like that and why wasn't it successful? Okay, how can we make it successful? And make sure the neighbors, we're not going to put a Sunday concert in the park till 11 o'clock at night, so make sure none of that happens too. So, okay, great. Thanks for that. So a couple things going on. Rachel, are you still interested in partaking in that Roaring Fork Outdoor Coalition process? I mean, you're doing that for Spring Gulch already.
Yeah, I'm not clear how involved participating is. If it's, I feel like from the application, it was a little bit vague of like, there's a few meetings that are scheduled but outside of that, how much was, I filled out the application.
Okay.
I got a lot out of the symposium and being part of that. So I'd love to stay involved. I think I'm a one-person operational at the time. And so I value the opportunity to connect with other outdoor leaders in the valley. And I'm happy to wear multiple hats as part of that. But I haven't heard anything back as far as like who got selected. I don't know if it's competitive or not. I talked with Liza Mitchell
Okay.
and let her know that I was part of the Parks and Rec Commission and would have to be.
Okay, good. That's what I wanted to make sure having that you were telling her you're
Yeah.
wearing two hats.
Yeah.
So, because that's valuable, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's super valuable to have you representing both, because, yeah, and I'm not sure it's a 2-year process. They have a 2-year grant
Yeah.
to create the reports that they're going to create. And yeah, and so I think it is, but I also don't want to, if anybody else is interested in that, we could talk to them too, I just want to make sure it's not too much for you.
No, I think, I don't think it would change the time commitment at all to.
Okay.
And it wasn't totally clear, like just participating in the process, but I don't know that outside of the planned sessions, there's that much commitment. So, I don't see any issue with the load of representing both.
Okay, awesome. Well, that'd be great. Yeah, I attended that symposium too, and it was valuable. I mean, yeah, it was really neat how that they organized that and worked that, and it was an opportunity to meet with like-minded people doing the same thing we're doing. So yeah, it was good.
And I think it's great to have a little bit broader lens of what's happening elsewhere and how all of us can kind of have a little bit of continuity within the valley and just different learning from each other's initiatives and tapping into just the resources that are out there. So.
Yeah. Okay. Neat. That's great.
I remain knowledgeable about it too. My firm's working on it, and so
Okay. Awesome.
I facilitated at the symposium. I'm not on the project team, but I looked today, they were restarting things up. There's a massive meeting, so
Okay.
I bet they will be in touch on what their needs are and scheduling soon.
Okay, great. The other thing that's kind of happening tomorrow and Saturday is, Gwen Garcelon approached Hollis and I just talking about this author's coming to town, and he has a regeneration handbook. So, and it's a community workshop on regeneration of food production on town lands, on public property. And so he has a book that he's written. There is a whole workshop tomorrow night, and then they're actually going to go visit Nature Park, on Saturday, and just to look at that. And so what we told Gwen is, yeah, we don't know what's going to happen in the future to that park, right? We're going to use our master plan process with outside consultants and outreach to the public users of not only that park, but all of our other parks and recreational amenities, to come up with a 10-year master plan. And so I said, she was thinking that she would come here and pitch it to, the Parks and Rec Commission members and see who was interested maybe in attending. I said, why don't you do this event? We'll do some more research on it here. And come back to us with a report of what was learned from it next month to the commission. And I said, if you put this, together as a idea, project plan, timeline, we will look at it when we're doing our master plan, right? Because it's another idea of a use of public space, right? And so I said, don't stop what you're doing, but know that we can't say we favor that, we can't say, oh, yes, go this way, because that's going to be all part of our, public outreach and master plan process. So, but it's interesting. It's a different vision for, public open space lands. And so I want her to come and tell us about it, especially after they have their workshop and see what type of level of interest they get just from the public, right? Because that's a piece of it too, right? What's the public interest in this? So.
So what's happening Saturday at the nature park?
So it's called Considering Regeneration Strategies for Carbondale. Don Hall is the author of the book called The Regeneration Handbook. And so it's look like a workshop on regeneration and food production on town lands. He's got many years of work in the transitional town movement, it says. So if anybody's interested in it, I can, or take a picture of this flyer. I can make a copy of it if you want.
You're gonna have I'm concerned about dog walkers freaking out.
They're fun. They can walk their dogs. They'll be fine. They'll do their loop.
Well, they're gonna see a bunch of people there, like, what's going on? What's going on? Like, we're doing something.
Yeah, we might have some visitors
Yeah,
in
that's all right.
December.
That's all right. It's a 33-acre park. If some people have some other ideas for that, we want to hear them.
Yeah, so just looking at things.
Yeah.
Should maybe be prepared to have some succinct, non-inflammatory answer.
Is that flyer at the boards at the dog park?
I do not know that. So I can ask her. Yeah.
That'd be great.
So yeah. Let's see, what else?
So
we have
Eric,
here?
can people just post whatever they want at the dog park? Or is that up to us? Does it go
Yeah,
through us?
right now we have 5 of the panels are locked. There's one that should be open for public posting.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, 5 of the panels have our information in English, Spanish. And then,
Yeah, you might want to tell her, that was a good idea. Who was that, you, Drew, that said, should probably have it posted down there.
yeah, that's good one. Thanks, Drew.
Actually, on that really briefly, I know I mentioned it a long time ago, but any considerations on, obviously maybe not this season given the temperatures, but remounting that panel so that it's front and center and you do have to walk around
Have
it?
to walk, kind of around it.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
noticed it was
we'd
kind of on
have
the side,
to.
and the old post is still there, and like the dog pot is still there. I don't know if there's a way to just like combine it all together, even on like the mow crew side of things, like make it easier to drive around. I don't know. But things like that, just like to make them noticeable. I always think about that anytime I go down there, if just
Yeah.
like, it's over here and I just walk straight. And so, yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
probably not this season, I imagine.
Yeah, it might be getting frozen out there now.
Yeah.
But, noted, so.
Speaking of which, there was a bunch of flooding in the north end of the park.
Recently?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
couple weeks.
Yeah, so that is,
Beaver Dam?
no, it's a culvert that is on private property that goes underneath that road to that road there that is plugged up. So he's been notified that it's his issue. It's not ours. Yeah, so he's got to maintain it, so.
Huh.
And I don't know how he's gonna do that, but some dynamite maybe, but.
All right. Okay, you guys have covered a lot of stuff. Do you have anything else in your reports or whatever before
I don't. Yeah, I think I'm done.
Okay, Erica?
Sure. Oh, I had more.
Oh, I'm sorry,
And then
Margaret.
I was waiting for the 30, whatever, 30.
36 and 90, we covered most of that
So,
with our. other
Okay,
reports,
Margaret,
So,
let her rip.
are you in a hurry, y'all?
No,
I
I'm
like
not.
I like to do our standard report. We have, pickleball has moved inside. So we're taking care of all of that. We are canceling this indoor pickleball on Friday because we are finally going to replace all the lights in the gym. Knock on wood, they're here. Registration for broom ball is open. Youth ice hockey for kids is open. So we are prepping for all of the winter stuff. And then I'm not sure why the volleyball isn't showing up here, but winter volleyball should be open. Climbing, this will finish next week, and then we won't bring it back probably until February, the youth climbing, just because Will has to start getting all the winter sports up, and boys basketball is up and open. We are looking for potentially another basketball coach because we already are full and have a wait list. So if anybody else wants to volunteer coaching some boys 5-6 basketball, who can coach on the hour, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, or 6 to 7.
You do that all day.
Dinky Dunkers is almost over, and we ended up having to add a second Tuesday, Thursday class. So that was good. And then we have a rec camp and Thanksgiving open. For some reason, we only have one participant, and normally those have been filling for the last 2 years.
What is it?
It's just like a youth afternoon. We try and schedule like rec camps for a couple hours in the afternoons when kids are out of school.
Okay.
So I wish we could provide an all day, but we just don't have the staff for that. And then the big one, the turkey trot. So if you would like to volunteer, we need volunteers to stand on the waysides. Thank you, Kay. You're on the list. Andy's on the list. And currently we're sitting at 171 registrants. We are aiming for 1,000.
Whoa.
this year.
What?
We're trying for 1,000. And so,
We're considering,
huh?
we're considering.
Yeah, you should come. You should come to do it. You just walk a mile if you want. And then you get, the medals are super cool this year. You can pay extra for an oven mitt or sweatpants, handmade by us. Well, not the oven mitts, but the
I probably
sweatpants.
need an oven mitt.
$5 for the oven mitts, $20 for sweatpants. Everybody needs sweatpants. Post it.
Okay, Liza, you better get Misha signed up.
I know.
You two registered.
I'm planning on doing it. There's this girl in my grade for like kind of fitness rivals. We had this teacher last year who was like an ex-Marine, and he challenged us in this like 1,000 step up challenge where you had to be at like a 20-inch box. You would step on it 1,000 times as fast as you could. And now we're rivals.
Who won?
So she won. That's what
Yeah, she won that
Oh, there you go, Eric. You read between the lines on that one.
Yeah, and game's on next week. We're doing it again.
You've been training?
Yeah. So we're at 171. So we're like 10 behind last year at this time for this date, but Thanksgiving's a week later.
It is, yeah.
So we're actually ahead, knock on wood.
Okay.
Should you sign up if you have a 2 and under?
If you sign up with a 2 and under, you don't have to register your 2-year-old.
It would add to the numbers though. It would add to the numbers.
If you want the numbers, you can have 4 more.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Some people did register their stroller kids last year because it's $7.
Yeah.
And then they get a little bit, and it's pretty cute.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a slice of pie, pumpkin pie,
Oh my gosh.
and the medals, and then the drinks. So, and the middle place prize this year. So if you come in middle place in the 5K, it is a $400 gift voucher to Redstone Inn and 2 day passes to Avalanche.
Wow.
And then if you come in middle place in the 1 mile, it's a free pair of shoes from Independence.
Wow.
So, and then Independence provides all the first, second, and third place prizes. So, but for some reason, they only do the first place male and female in the 62 plus category. Don't ask me.
We figure there's no savant out there that can figure out the middle, when he's running. There's no way.
That'd be some
I
fast math.
once won a turkey in a prediction run where you had to guess, you didn't know the exact distance of the race until you showed up.
Oh,
And
no
you had to
way.
guess your time. They told you somewhere between 4 and 5 miles. You'd guess your time, and then they told you distance. Or wait, maybe they told you the distance when you got there, so you couldn't go like time yourself and then
Oh,
come
yeah.
back. And whoever was closest to their time got a turkey.
oh, wow. That's
Wow.
cool.
Was
That's
it
a neat
cooked
thing.
already?
No.
That's what.
College, I didn't even
That's why we don't do it, because we're Thanksgiving morning. If you don't have your turkey for Thanksgiving, if it's not already in the oven when you're coming,
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of thinking about like, what time is this thing at?
it's at 9:30.
Okay.
It's super fun. It is really,
It's
it's
fun.
really fun. We have
Yeah.
people
We
dressed
have to.
up, we have families, and it's super chill. So you can run, you can walk, you can do whatever. You can do the 1 mile loop and just walk down Main Street, take a left on the bike path and come back down. Like, yeah, you're paying to walk on the bike path, but it's fun. We close down
cares?
Main Street.
You're paying for a piece of pie.
You're paying for a piece of pie and an awesome medal. Yeah, and to be out, like it is something to have that many people kind of just take off and run down Main Street and stuff, and
Yeah.
the bike path. And we have diehard people who have been doing it forever, and we have good swag. So,
Cool.
okay, now I'm done. Thank you.
And
I'm
now
so sorry. I overlooked you. That
and
was
now
just
I
not
remember what I
intentional.
forgot to tell you. So-
Oh, of course. Okay.
So up at Red Hill, we just cemented in the Red Hill mud meter. So it's gonna be a sign that is controlled by the user saying this trail is muddy, this trail is not, this trail is dry, this trail is muddy. So it's still in production, the sign itself, but it'll be up pretty quick because it's finished production. We just got to do a couple more things to it. So Red Hill Council and put that together. So
What is it?
it's a mud meter. So you get to the trailhead and the users of the trail have said, don't go here, it's muddy. Turn back,
Oh.
if you get to here. So you can map out your path up there, because it's impossible. We're not shutting down the trail because it's muddy, right? We're just asking the user to be conscious of how to use the trails in a sustainable manner. And they'll be able to let people know if they run into mud up on the trails. Here's where I turn back.
This will be at the entrance, so you know, like how to map, to do your trail before you get started.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Cool.
Wow.
And then the other thing I forgot to tell you guys is Lori with our Public Works wants all of the commissions to be represented next year on our flagpole banners
Oh, right.
up and down Main Street. So she put out a request to the Parks and Rec Commission to send about 5 photos that will represent the commission. So I wanted to open that up to you guys. You can send them to me and I can get them to her. If you have a photo that represents what this commission does, that would be on a banner with the Parks and Rec Commission. I'm seeing blank stares
Let's go for
here.
a micro. We should
Total
have taken
blank
it. We
stares.
should have taken a group shot when we did our summer tour or something. What would we do?
I mean, it could just be a picture of a park.
Oh,
Have some kids playing on the playground.
Yeah.
Far enough out, and maybe the Silver's Park where you get the Silver's view.
okay,
Yeah.
you're on that one with your munchkins. You can take them.
Some high schoolers pulling
Oh, you
weeds.
could too.
There
High
you go.
schoolers pulling
pulling
weeds.
weeds.
Take a picture of the pool as a motivator to get the project.
Yeah.
Stick a QR code down there.
Yeah.
Well, Drew, you should be able to
Big hole.
help us out
I've
with
got
that kind
some
of stuff. You
pictures,
got
yeah.
connections with the littles.
But if anybody has a high-res 300 DPI photo that you want to represent the commission, send it to me.
Maybe a dog on a leash outside of a park.
And if you have a high-res 300 GPI that you would like to put in for Puzzle and Pie Night for February
Oh.
and January, send it.
Oh.
While we're doing photos.
Yeah.
I will suggest not to take it on your camera, on your phone. And it should be from they only come out on the real cameras for the most part.
Okay, I'm done.
You're done.
Really?
I have a follow-up that I.
on, y'all.
So in January, we don't take reservations until January, but I already have 6 penciled in requests for quinceañeras and baby showers for next year. So we already have 6 special events.
Wow.
Events, including the Green is the New Black and
5 point.
5 Point.
What's Puzzle and Pie? What date's the date of that one?
It's the last Sunday of the
February.
February.
Yeah.
Yep, so January, we'll do the photo competition and then we'll put it together for February. But in between that, we also have Light the Night and Family Skate Night.
Okay. All right, you two, are you
I'm
done?
Yeah.
Here, nope, button it. Don't forget anything, Eric.
Right. Most of our meetings, since we last met, are really budget discussions. So we get presentations from Eric on all the details that he went through with you on Parks and Rec budget. We hear from Public Works, wastewater, water. And then also the police came in with their budget. So most of them, I mean, there wasn't anything really that big and new. One cool thing with the police department is they are going to adding electric police vehicles to the fleet. And it's been really hard to find manufacturers who can handle that and handle all the extra stuff they need, and the police can fit in them easily with all of their stuff. So it hasn't been an easy task. And then they are going to install charging stations back here, I think 10 charging stations. And so that's a cool transition in the clean energy part. And then same with in Public Works, you know, they already have one Ford Lightning, which is the all electric like F-150 size truck. And they have 2 more in the budget for next year. And one will replace one of the parks maintenance trucks and then one of the other Public Works vehicles as well. And they've already transitioned, which I think is really cool, most of the parks maintenance equipment to battery operated. So they're quieter, and then these Ford Lightnings can actually have some sort of charger for the batteries that run that equipment in the front of it, because they don't have an engine, you know, so it's a frunk in the front of the truck. So the crews can charge their stuff right there at the park.
Cool.
And so it's little they feel little, but they're things, I mean, particularly because my past working at Clean Energy Economy for the region, I just think it's really cool that our departments, and I just want to applaud you guys and Kevin for continuing to chip away at these things, and the police, and incorporating them just across all of our departments. So it's not like we have to have a sustainability staff person at town who's like going around and making sure, because it's now just part of what staff think about. And I think that's worth noting. And they're really, I say they're minor because they're just doing it. And it's not like anybody's pushing them, or we're not like I'm not making the request all the time anymore. It's really cool. So nice job. And then along those lines, it's a presentation from other entities that we give money to or we have contracts with. And then that's really all we've done. The only other policy item, I think, since we chatted, is we did discuss short-term rentals. So a couple of years ago, we put really strict regulations in fact, some of the most strict in the area on short-term rentals, and definitely see a decline. And one of the reasons was concerns that short-term rentals take away housing from folks. But in an inventory we did, and from all the licensing we have, most of them are not available for housing for anybody. If it's somebody's second home, they're not going to open that up and rent it. Like, it's just going to sit vacant, you know? And so, and then the other ones are people who decide to short-term rental on their premises, and, you know, we're not going to force them to you house a full-time tenant kind of thing. So we are lifting some of our restrictions and instead putting a cap in place. And I think, I didn't open up the minutes to see, but we have 40 right now. And I think with our cap, maybe it can go up to 100 or something. We made it so it'd be 2% of our total housing stock. So that's just a slight change. And we did get a lot of input from restaurant owners who are just seeing that they're not getting, like our hotels are full, but they're not getting like guests in town who are then enjoying our restaurants and stores. So that was one of the impetuses for it. And some of our events, like 5 Point really told us, they were like, man, we can't find lodging for anybody when they come to town, you know? So we were hearing from people that we kind of dialed it in too much, but we're fine with that. Like there was no, I think it's fine. Cause it was also in a moment where everything was really feeling out of control. And so I think it was fine that we are now changing our minds. So, but if anybody has any questions or wants more details on that, I'm happy to follow up. And that's really all we've been doing.
Okay, good. Commissioners, anybody else have anything to add to anything?
We're at 174, thanks to Rachel.
There's not even an option to put a 2 number.
You were trying.
That's funny. Well, anyway, as Eric was talking about, or somebody was talking about the schedule, I just like looked and just to put on your little radar, but it's not until January. New Year's Day is on a Wednesday, so we're gonna have our, you know, our meeting will be on the 8th, so it'll come up fast, right after the holidays. Just so you know. So, okay. I guess that's the end of business.
No, December meeting is the 12th,
Yes.
or sorry, 11th.
Yes, the 11th. Is there a
I make a motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn?
A second.
Oh.
Right, all in favor?